And we welcome you into a live brew. It's Morning Brew with Jaffe and Razor as we get you caught up on a couple of things as the Boston Bruins, first of all, skate to a 5-3 road victory in Colorado on Wednesday night, a game that didn't start until a little later than expected, but still able to watch the game. And we can talk a little bit about that, but I want to talk about some other things too as we, again, welcome you into the show. Live brew here on our YouTube page and also on Instagram. So RC, the man, the myth, the legend, the man behind the curtain, making it all happen. So we thank him. We thank him for putting this all together, and we like doing this. So, I see a couple of comments already there. Sir Duncan telling us that we're late, giving us shit already. And you know what? No, we aren't late. We said that we would start between 9:15 and 9:30. So we appreciate we appreciate the comment.
Keeping us honest. I don't mind
keeping us honest. Exactly. Hey, before we get going, let's mention that Morning Brew with Jaffe and Razor is proudly sponsored by Fazenda Coffee Roasters. They're out of the Boston area, and they are a lead in-pod sponsor, and we can't thank them enough. Fazenda Coffee powers some of Boston's best cafes and restaurants with exceptional coffee. Their wholesale program designed to help your business, if you have one, serve the perfect cup every time. Whether you're looking for a custom coffee program or full-service equipment support, they've got you covered. Learn more and join the list of top-tier cafes and restaurants that trust Fazenda. That's Fazenda, in case anybody's wondering. FazendaCoffee.com/wholesale. In about a week, Razor, I got notice that our hats are almost done. I should be able to get them in mid next week.
Love it.
Maybe by the end of next week. All right. Maybe next week we will have at Fazenda Coffee, the facilitator for our hats, our distributor. These are the ones right here. I don't know if you can see them right here on the live stream. If you're listening on the pod the next day, it's the one you see them right there. The ones with the hockey sticks and everything. And Razor's got the vintage one on, although it does look pretty damn sharp too. Yep. So we'll let you know when they're there. But thank you for the Fazenda Coffee for all of the phenomenal support. All right, Razor. Bruins get a much-needed complete effort. They get a much-needed type of game in Colorado. We talked about both on Nesson and here on Morning Brew about the good stuff about getting on the road, going to play that type of game. They're going against a team that is struggling but still can scare the freaking bejesus out of you in the Colorado Avalanche. And the Bruins, for the most part, really played a good game. The penalty kill, okay, wasn't a perfect game, I said. A pretty good game. But at 5-on-5, they were really excellent for the most part. Yes, Colorado had a push, especially later in the game. You had to expect it with the stars that they have. But overall, it's amazing, right, partner? Getting on the road, what it kind of does to galvanize a team, especially a team that, there was people questioning a little bit just 4 games into the freaking season.
Yeah, well, and now they're 3-0 against everyone but Florida. So that's, they'd only play Florida a couple more times. So the world is good. The world is good again. But no, I think the guys were excited to get on the road, and the only thing that really matters after that game is for a lot of the guys, I'm sure, is that Montgomery was happy, because he wasn't happy. He was very upset with the battle to compete, and he was the opposite of that after the game in Colorado. So again, real positive night for the Bruins, and now they get to have 2 or 3 days and play some golf and hang out and be happy teammates together.
Yeah, and it's you had the Florida trip. They went down a day early. They have practice down there. That's a very different type of road trip than this trip right here. That's the beginning of a season. That's, I don't know about feeling the pressure, so to speak, but it's also a different opponent, but it's just a different vibe. I don't know if I can explain it real well. It's not as relaxing. Like, you're going down there on a quick business trip. This trip, you're saying, hey, we're going to take care of business the first night. Then we're going to have our fun. And then we're going to get back into rhythm of business again. And from a player's perspective, Razor, it's almost maybe mentally, going into this trip, it was just a more relaxing approach, given that, first of all, you knew you had multiple days on the road, and second of all, you've had a couple of games under your belt.
Well, and to be honest, and this might not, you're motivated every night, but you're especially motivated when you're on the road for 4 days after without any games, and you want to have an enjoyable time and a little fun. Of course, it does at the end of the day. You're not more motivated, but it is different. Like you said, you're not just flying on the plane home. You're like, all right, boys, let's start this road trip. Let's have some fun this week, but it starts with winning tonight. And it's just a different message, different thought. You need all of those different things when you have 82 games.
Folks, we got some people already interactive, and we'll be more than happy to take some questions or put some comments up there. Have a good time with it. So please keep them coming in here. We have no idea how many people are going to join us here on this live brew, this morning brew with Jaffe and Razor live stream, but we are absolutely happy to take some really good questions and comments and discuss them. And we'll get to those in just a little bit. As we talked before, we're going to talk about, or after, I should say, after we talk about a couple of other things. The mindset of a team going into Colorado, and I've asked you about this before, but I'm going to ask you again because they only go there once a year, right? That is. But do the players as a visiting team, look, we know they're a freaking good team, Colorado. Yes, they're struggling around, but in general, but do the players think about the altitude thing when you're going in there? You know, do you consciously think about it and talk about short shifts, locker room, all that stuff due to the altitude? And how do you deal with it?
You do. The guys, it's circled, but what you do is you get in and out so it doesn't affect you. And so the Bruins got in later on whatever day, Tuesday, and then they're out. Obviously, Utah is a little bit different because you're back into the mountains again. So you have a different situation, but typically if you got into Colorado and were there for less than 24 hours, the altitude actually doesn't bother you too much. It's the 48 hours. It's the second day that you really get smoked out there. So you still have to watch your shifts. The air is lighter. It's harder to get through a game. It's just harder to get your wind back. So if you have a 2-minute shift, it's going to take you longer than your 2-minute shift in Boston's going to be to be able to ready to go again. So again, the Bruins did that on purpose. They didn't skate very much. Optional skate in the morning just to be able to rest. Don't blow anything out. Don't be athletic. Just get in the game, play the game, and get out.
And that's what the fourth line did. Continues to do. If they have been absolutely fantastic. It's almost, I almost feel like, geez, what are we going to say different about, Kastelik's line right now? But you can't not talk about him. The way that Koepke's playing, the way that Beecher's playing, the way that Mark Kastelik, what do you have 10 points last year? 11 points, something like that. I mean, the way that he is providing legitimate offense, not, it goes in off his ass offense. You know what I mean? It's all of them. I mean, Koepke looks like a player that you say, how the hell has he not been in the NHL more than a few games here in each of the last 2 seasons? I mean, the pace, the speed, the intensity, but sometimes you get fourth liners that don't even, they just want to be so hell's bells out there because you're worried about making a mistake. If you keep cycling and you keep working the puck along the wall and you keep chipping and chasing, that kind of thing, and hammering away, the coach can't get mad at you. You usually don't make mistakes that way. It's when you try and do a little something offensively, sometimes it comes to bite you back in the ass, Razor, because if it goes a 3-on-2 the other way or something like that. These guys haven't done that. They've absolutely dominated zone time possession. They're outscoring. They haven't been scored on. And even it's unbelievable. If it wasn't for this line, where the heck would this team be right now? That's the other thing, right? To ask.
Yeah, no, they might have lost 1 or 2 more games. Chemistry matters more on the fourth line than any line. And you ask about Koepke, like why he obviously hasn't gelled with someone like he has with Kastelik and Beecher. And a lot of credit to Beecher. Going to the minors last year, up and down. He had a solid role in the playoffs, but came into camp like, still, what are you? And I think playing with Kastelik's made him, or just his offseason has made him faster and bigger and more direct, going to the net, using his speed wide. and being on the wing probably frees them up just a little bit as well. So I just think the chemistry of these three guys has been perfect. Kastelik has been great since the first training camp, first preseason game. He gets it. He's a pro, and he seems to fit perfectly into what Jim Montgomery wants from his fourth line centerman. So exciting stuff for those guys. That I don't think in their wildest dreams their season would have started this way, and it just carries you so far when you're a fourth liner to go, to have this kind of start carries you so far into the season.
Yeah, and they're doing it all type of ways. They're not all, they're not all ugly goals. They're hardworking goals. There's no doubt about it. But, yes, and it's all about getting pucks deep and working and getting to the net. We've seen, Kastelik come around the circle a couple of times and shoot. There's bodies in front. Koepke is just a drive in the net machine, turns corners, gets in. I mean, the way that they work in unison, and to your point about chemistry, you can want to cycle as much as you do, but first of all, you have to be on pucks, retrieve pucks, move pucks, keep control of pucks. And maybe the third part is the most important, being able to keep control of the puck. Because if you have no hands, or you have no skill whatsoever, usually the puck is just rocketing off your stick into the abyss, and the opponent usually gets it. But these guys, again, to their credit, they've shown some nice level of skill too. And we've talked numerous times about the game has changed when you played. And I want to ask you about fourth lines that you played with. Is if there's one line, I don't think I've asked you this, if there's a fourth line that jumps out to you, that you used to love watching. But before, I'll give you a little time to think of that. But in your day, fourth lines, a lot of times you always had one guy who could fight. Yeah. Right. And that was it. Another guy would take faceoffs and kill penalties. And then another guy who was kind of maybe a jack of all trades type of thing. I don't know, but these guys, it feels like, maybe it's recency bias, your partner, skilled. They have some, more skill. And it's also the trend that the game is going in.
Yeah, that's what it is. It's these kids, everyone's the fourth line. Like, again, the NHL, and then this was still the case when I played. The fighter got 200 points in juniors, or 50 points in college. They were the best college players. They were the best junior players. They were the best kids when they were 14. They scored 500 goals. They just got to the NHL and they had to fight. That's the case here. I bet Mark Kastelik was an absolute animal when he was 13 years old, and now he's a fourth line guy in the NHL. But they all have so much skill. They have so much talent, and they typically don't get to really use it, or they don't have the confidence to be David Pastrnak. They don't have the confidence to be Brad Marchand. They don't have the leash, it's just it's milligrams, the difference between good and great and superstardom, etc. in the NHL. It's that close. So the speed that they're doing it is impressive, and the fact that they're still keeping their north-south game while adding the skill in is what's been impressive, I think.
Yeah, they haven't strayed. They
haven't lost their identity, and it's still, they make a play, but then they'll not make a play for 5 shifts, and then they'll make a play, and then they won't make a shift. It's been consistent. They haven't veered as they've gotten better.
Kastelik didn't have a point in this game. He's a +3 though. 6 of 8 in the faceoff circle. A couple of attempts, 4 to be exact, 2 hits. Still very effective game. Koepke with a goal. Beecher with the goal. All 3 of them were +3. All of them played at least 13 and a half minutes. Actually, Mark played 16-21. It's pretty damn good for a so-called truthfully, Razor, that was their third line though last night, compared to the fourth line that had Patra between Jones and Tufte. Didn't love the Tufte penalties. I think 2 in the ozone, bud. You can't. First one for sure. Second one, I actually personally thought Rantanen went down a little easy, but it was a penalty. It was. In the ozone, can't do it. Can't do it. I think that's going to make for a return of either a Morgan Geekie or Justin Brazeau to the lineup. At least one of them, if not both, but at least one of them, in my opinion. Jones, I thought, played better. He had 4 hits in that game. He looked to be more involved. I don't know, like you've got a line with Patra, and it's kind of that Tweenerville type line. And what are you going to do? Like, don't you? I think you got to. I think you got to bring somebody else in and give him a little more help. Otherwise, Matty Patra is a bit underutilized. Razor, I think with that line, especially with Trent Frederick playing with Coyle and Marchand on the right side. And I like that line. I like Freddie's game last night, bud. I did. I liked it. I think that he stays there. That does make it a little bit more difficult for Matty Patra, I think, to have more true skilled guys there. So maybe you change it up. You put Geeky or Brazeau back in, or are we at the point yet? And I don't know where they're at yet. And I know we have a few questions about it. Is that the perfect place for a guy like Tyler Johnson? When it's all said and done. And it's almost two different questions. So maybe unfair to me to phrase it that way.
It could be Tyler Johnson. But that turns in then that's a small line, a really soft line that can get pushed around unless, depending. So I mean, I see it Thomas Crane. I mean, you go Geeky, Patra, Brazeau next game. I think both Jones and Tufte come out. I think Geeky and Brazeau are in the lineup. I think they got a little bit of a slapping for the start of their season. A little
message received. We're going to find out.
Yeah. Here we go. You guys can get back, and you have Patra to drive your line and go figure it out. Like that's the way I see that sitting. I think it was always a one gamer, and you put Geeky and Brazeau back, and
time. You good with an all righty line? Are you? We talked about that in the last show a little bit. I'm not sure how I feel about that. I mean, I guess it's probably just we never really see an all righty line. You usually see more lefties playing the offside than righties, but that's just the way it goes.
Well, you could move Geeky over to the left, or sorry, Patra over to the left. He comes into the zone on the left hand side all of the time as a centerman. He's always over on that left side. He likes his backhand. He likes that play. He's always done it. So you could even just put him on the wing and have Geeky play in the middle if you really choose to.
Be interesting.
I don't know. You're not changing the fourth line. You're not changing the first. Probably want to keep Marchand and Coyle together with Frederick. I think you like that. So you're kind of stuck with the righties, I guess. I think it's more of a that's just the way it is.
Trent Frederick, to your point about he played 16:40 in the game, 3 shots on net, 2 others that were attempted blocked, 7 hits in that game. Again, hits can be very subjective, rink to rink, but the fact, so let's say it was only 5, whatever it was, he was involved. Yeah. I thought it was the most noticeable game that he had, Razor. I did, and if he's going to elevate his game, we already talked about in the season preview show how we'd love to see 50 out of him, points, not goals. Whatever, he needs to be involved more. The first couple of games, I thought he was too Tweenerville. That was involvement last night. Assuming Brad Marchand, who had to leave the game for a bit, Montgomery did say postgame was fine, just spasms type stuff. But assuming he's fine, I don't see how that line isn't together again, partner. Yeah. I just don't. So it'll be very curious to see what they do with Geeky and Brazeau, if both of them come in, or do they say to a guy like Jones, who played well, hey, you know what? We're going to keep you in. We'll keep you in. He's on 2-year contract. Remember that 2-year instead of 1. That's a big difference, right? I mean, there's a big difference there. So do they want to try and get him going more too? I guess I'll sit on the fence here. I could see both guys getting back in, or how about this for analysis? I could see one getting back in and one not still. I mean, I don't think that's an unfair assessment. By the way, in that game, Bruins were very good in the faceoff circle, 61% effective, led by Elias Lindholm, who's 10 of 13. Little things that I noticed in the game, faceoffs being one of them. Another one that I really noticed too, Razor, were how consistently at 5-on-5 the Bruins used behind the net on the forecheck. Now, that could have been symptomatic of a Colorado team that is struggling in their own zone at times. Yeah. No Devon Taves playing, a little different look on the back end there. But still the Bruins took advantage of it. And I love that. I really did. I thought they consistently got pucks deep, worked the walls, worked the sides, but usually, sometimes they get away from using behind the net regularly, and they did beautifully in that game. It's not always the easiest way to play hockey, so to speak, or the prettiest way, maybe is the right way to say it, but it's incredibly effective when they do it. And the goaltender, right, as a goalie, when plays are behind you, how much different is that plays behind you versus the puck in front of you? And what is that? Does that do anything? Or am I over analyzing the usage of the net for controlling play?
Yeah, well, it's more difficult when the D's active, the offensive D are active and they get possession and they're able to move around and your D's a little porous, then opportunities show up. As a goaltender, um, it can be it really kind of depends, but if you have a good player back there, obviously you can get exploited and they can find and make plays to the front of the net. But certainly it was for the fact that Colorado is just not good on defense right now, and the Bruins were
Mhm.
able to take advantage. Really good job getting it in behind them and recognizing that the puck possession game was going to pay off for them.
Yeah, and it sure did. It really created some good looks for them, some good opportunity. I want to ask you about Jonas Corposalo and his game and the importance of getting that win. We'll talk about Corposalo, and then, folks, after that, we'll get to some of your questions and comments after we talk about our sponsors. So keep bringing them in. We got more, more people coming in, more questions. We are more than happy to take some. Corposalo Razor stopped Miles Wood on a breakaway very early in this game. I mean, Miles Wood was flying up the ice. He blew by a bunch of Bruins like they were standing still. Like, shit, does that guy have straight line speed? But Corposalo made a really good save early on in the game, and that play cannot be overlooked whatsoever. And I thought one goal, and the guys talked about it on the broadcast. The third goal, the Rantanen, the slap shot on the one timer,
Mm.
was the only one that you look at and you're like, come on, all right, it's not his fault per se, but that's a save you got to make, right? Fair? You tell me. Is that a fair?
Yeah. He would have liked to have that back. He got there, he got to his spot, he read the play, and it just found a way to go through him. So yeah, he would be happier if it was 5-2 and 2 on 25 and a 920 save percentage. But massive for him to get a win. You never want to start 0-2. Because then you gotta wait probably 3 more weeks to get those 2 starts to get back to it. Now you feel like as a backup goalie, okay, I'm going to get a start within the next 8 days. I can get over 500, that kind of stuff. So really big to get that win. A few more days, continue to work on the game, but good to impress the new teammates and again, a tough place to win, or either way, a tough place to go into as a goaltender because you feel like you're going to give up goals in that building no matter what.
Just because of who they are. That's the
Yeah.
feeling. Yeah.
Yeah. Just
And
you got
how,
McKinnon and McCarr. They're going
yeah,
to do something.
man, that power play looked good. Bruins
Yeah.
PK struggled against them. And I don't know whose penalty kill would have been great against them, though, in
Yeah.
that one. The McCarr shot was ferocious.
Yeah.
I
He
mean,
hits it
that
so
was,
fast. So
yes,
fast.
yes. And I mean, they he just, and then the Rantanen one and the Colton goal, by the way. I didn't like how Ross Colton got to the inside. It was too easy. I mean, he's shooting from maybe it was 20 something feet right there. It was too easy, but it was a snipe too.
Yeah.
It was a really good shot, but you'd like to see the defense be better. By the way, I went by it too quick. I blew the stop sign. Was there a fourth line that you loved watching play during your time from any of your
We had
teams?
so much meat. Like I didn't have a good fourth line. Like I know the 11 Bruins, that's
Yeah,
in lore, right? The 4 lines, but like even in Vancouver that year or the year before, we had a bunch of guys go through it. It wasn't like a reliable, again, like you said it, it was always moving the fourth line. That was just where you put guys that you didn't want to play. Whether they were from the third line or they were coming up from the minors and a young kid, whatever it was, they were just placeholders, grocery sticks.
yeah, it's true. There's guys that either on their way up or they're on their way down. Just finding
Correct.
an ability to be on a roster, make their NHL cash, and play, and do whatever it took, so to speak. It was always interesting to watch guys that got put on fourth lines that were doing so well in the minors, and I'll call the old days in the early 2000s, 90s, 2000s, whatever, that would score, 80 to 100 points in the A or the I, and then they'd come up to play and they'd give them fourth line minutes and opportunity, and it just would never go well.
No.
It never went well. Those guys had a hard time adjusting. And, guys would always say, coaches' mentalities were, well, I'm putting you on the fourth line. You were given to me. I'm going to put you on the fourth line. Go crash and bang. And the guy's like, what the F? Like, come on.
I would have rather just stayed in Providence.
Right.
Like, why are you calling me up for this? I could have just stayed home. Like, that was the mentality a lot of times.
Very different. All right, just a couple of other notes here on the game that I just want to get in. Korpisalo was, I thought, really, really good. And that was excellent. Carlo, 7 block shots in the game. He did a nice job.
Hometown.
I thought, what's that?
Hometown. He always plays
play.
good in Colorado. Yep. He's excited to go back there.
Good call. I thought Andrew Peeke had a real good game. Red plays well. The D pairs were shifted a bit. Low Ryan played with McAvoy a lot in this game. Razor, something I thought was good. Zadorov and Peeke were together. You had Lindholm and Carlo. I like the shifting around by Jim Montgomery and his staff in that. I thought the second period was started beautifully by the Coyle line. After a good first, they came out and set the tone with an excellent second period. Can't look past little things like that, folks, that make a difference, a really big, big difference. Couple of big saves again by Korpisalo. He had a save late in the period, a blocker save where he paddled open. I mentioned the breakaway already as well. And boy, there was one other thing from the game that I wanted to. Oh, the power play. Shit, 2 power play goals, both backdoor plays. So you have to, like you don't often see that, but between Coyle getting his first goal of the year and then Pastrnak, who had gotten not beaten down, but sent down, gets up, gets back into the play, and Hampus Lindholm beats him with that bullet pass top of the crease. I thought entries were better. Still need some work, but they were definitely better. And just the puck movement was a little bit more intense with regard to the zipping it around, which was great to see. They didn't score a traditional power play goal, but who the hell cares? They scored 2 goals backdoor, like, not tap-ins, but slam-ins, so to speak, one by Coyle and one by Pasta.
Yeah, so it feels good. That is not LA Kings, Florida Panthers power or penalty kill.
Right.
That's a Montreal Canadiens penalty kill. So it feels good to get to. You feel positive in it, but no, you have a lot of work to do as you play some of the better defensive teams.
I agree. All right, let's mention our sponsors here, and then we're going to take a couple questions and comments. We got a bunch of them, which would be great. We'll run through them. We're going to start with Graciano Construction, serving Boston and the greater Metro West area. And pretty much, if you want to do something around the Massachusetts area, you call Graciano Construction. They'll help you refresh and revitalize any space you got. They can, and they will do it all. Bathrooms, kitchens, porch projects, full renovations, painting, even garages. There's nothing that Graciano Construction cannot do. And the best part, Razor, they do it with pride and amazing professionalism. Doug Graciano and his crew somehow make doing home project renovations or just projects less stressful and almost enjoyable at times, which is really hard to do with that. They're all about respecting the customer and making sure the customer is thrilled with the end result. GracianoConstruction.com or call 508-330-7589 and give them a call to discuss what you're looking to do at home. And Doug and his guys will, they'll talk to you about it. And they always come up with some great ideas too. So look into Graciano Construction. And if you're looking to buy, sell, or lease a place, go to RTN Realty. They are working in Massachusetts, Rhode Island, or New Hampshire, licensed to sell, licensed to work in all those areas. Check out RTN Realty for all your real estate needs. Chris Gentile has a staff of 16 agents and support staff to cover you for whatever you're looking to do. RTN Realty handles, if I could speak, that would be great, all type of real estate transactions. The best part, they do it without all the high pressure that some other agencies do. Chris has over 22 years experience in real estate, Razor, and over 2,500 transactions. Reach out to Chris at cgentile@rtnrealty.com or call him directly at 617-835-0845 for a no pressure consultation. The real estate market, Razor, is changing all the time. Use somebody that you
use it.
trust, and that can help you figure it out. Speaking of figuring it out, Sparks has got the at-home skate sharpener figured out, Razor.
And that's what Fridays are in the Raycroft house. It's Sparks Machine Day. Get the skates sharpened up. The kids
Love
will be
it.
down there after school tomorrow, getting ready for the weekend. It's the best. It's the best, folks. It's the best purchase I've made within the hockey environment. It's a no-brainer for my family. Allows me to not have to go anywhere to get them sharpened. Like I said, the kids do it. Save nothing but time and money. There's more than 100,000 of them on the market, so they've got it dialed in. It's as good as this looks on the screen if you're watching. It's easy, it's clean, and it's used by all the pros. Bruins have a couple of them on the road this week. Like it's heavy duty, and best of all, you can save $50 with code BREW50 to save a little bit more money. But again, it's all about the time and convenience that this thing's going to save you.
So thank you to Graciano, RTN Realty, and Sparks, all wonderful sponsors of Morning Brew with Jaffe and Razor. All right, let's take a couple of comments. Let's get through some of these. Folks, we really appreciate for those that are part of the live brew, live stream, live brew. That is awesome. We love being on here and doing this with you. We'll do this at times throughout the season, and we'll try and develop more regular. It's hard to do a regular schedule for Razor because A, we're all over, and B, the Bruins, we try and do it around the Bruins schedule. But for the most part, folks, I think that it is twice a week. All right, let's start here. Okay, Kyle Kendall. You think Tyler Johnson, this is from Kyle Kendall. Do you think Tyler Johnson is going to get a shot since the Tufte experiment doesn't seem to be working? Seems like line 1 and 4 is locked. Just got to figure out the middle. Love the work that you guys do. We kind of touched on that too. How do we get to Tyler Johnson as well? And I don't know all the ins and out of the salary cap and everything, but it feels to me that somebody's going to have to, if not one, two guys may have to go down, because you're going to have to give him at least $750. That's the NHL minimum. But he might even want up to, I don't know, $1 million. I mean, he may even want up to that. But I talked to Tyler yesterday, and I don't even know if he's on the road trip, bud. He was actually waiting to find out if he was going on the road or not. He didn't know. So this is a guy, though, that seems to be content, like Danton Heinen was, at least for the moment, to stay here.
Yeah, that's kind of where I was going to go. It's you can be patient until he gets another offer, I guess. If if somebody else runs into something, they might want to look at this way, or there's a plan in place and there's day 17 of the regular season is the best place for the Bruins to sign this deal for the salary cap that all those guys in the back room have figured out,
Right.
Daily cap like that. It could be something like that too, that is just so obscure, but will save them $100 at the end of the season. And everyone's on that same page. So it's still a story. And I think the longer he's here, the more of a story it kind of becomes, because it'll be more obvious that he's actually going to be here at some point. Is that a reasonable, observation? That's the way I see it.
Yeah.
If you keep talking to me, he's like, I don't know if I'm going on the road, but I'm super happy to hang out in Boston while they go away for 7 days and not try and go somewhere else. It's like, okay, something's up here.
Something's up, right? Because he's okay for now. And this is a vet. This is a vet that he's been through it. He understands, and they're going to treat him with respect. And I'm sure this is a different experience for him, so it must feel like it's good. I think all the veteran guys really help him. I do. I think it really helps him. All right, Omar Delgado. Do you guys have any insight on pasta? I'm assuming you're talking about Pastrnak and not the makings of traditional pasta.
Don't get Billy going.
I could have I have more insight on the kind of pasta that you eat than I do David Pastrnak. Omar says, I felt like his game last season seemed more chip on your shoulder, more aggressive than before, and he seems to be on that same track this year. I love it, says Omar. I just think it's about becoming a more complete, more aggressive player that doesn't want to be just about goal scoring, although everybody knows he's about goal scoring. And I think without Krejci and Bergeron, I think he understood that he had to not just lead by example, but he had to do even a few other things outside his comfort zone. Probably isn't fair because he seems comfortable being more physical, but it's just that he maybe didn't do as much, Razor. And I think he knew he had to elevate.
Yep, that's it. He had to elevate, had to do a little do more differently. But certainly and I think that he knew if he did that, he would be a superstar on another, just take it to another level. It's and again, I think he took the responsibility of signing that big deal too.
Yep.
He's now the highest paid Bruin ever of all time. Like that means something. There's enough of the Bruins guys around. I think that he has a lot of respect for that. He's watched and played with and observed and understands that to be beloved by you fans, that being physical and having a competitive streak is important.
I agree. All right. Here's another one. JCJ CCMZ. Andrew, do you feel like you have to make your analysis of the Bruins nicer or less harsh because you still identify as a player? Do you? I'm going to ask you, do you still identify as a player?
Unfortunately, I don't identify as a player nearly as much as I would love to,
By the way, here's a second part to the question,
or
or
deserve
because
to.
you have to right here maintain
Oh.
friendships, relationships with the Bruins guys.
Well, listen, yeah, we see them around. We travel. I see them. I don't think I mean, no matter what, if you've heard me on NHL radio and I'm talking about the rest of the league, I'm not very harsh in that. I try and give you a point of view from the players' side, and it doesn't have to be harsh. I don't think. I think most of everyone's trying out there, and there's mistakes that get made, but again, most of the time, the guys know that it's their mistake, and I'll never be a talk radio guy that just kind of explodes over the smallest of things and makes a big thing of it. So,
how much do you think the guys listen to us? And I don't mean you and me. I mean media. How much do you think? And um, there's all different types of media. We know that.
yeah,
But how much do you think it's more now than when you were playing?
I think so.
Is it because it's easier access to it? I mean, it's every freaking place all over there.
Like just the simplest thing of one of their buddies sending them an article, right?
Mhm.
Like one of their buddies, like, look at this, did you hear this? Or and it
Mhm.
might not be about them, but their buddies send it about their teammates, and then it kind of like goes around it's just when it was just a newspaper, that certainly was easier to avoid, I think. So I think guys kind of are aware. I think they're okay with being aware too. Like it's just a different mentality.
Mhm.
Um, and I don't think. Well, I know the media is not nearly as mean as it used to be either.
Really interesting.
I think
It,
social media. If you go on Twitter and you take everyone, every comment on there for real, that
mhm.
would be harder. But the actual media itself, I think, is
But did that have something perhaps also with the markets that you played in? I
Well,
mean,
I played in
Toronto,
here in
Toronto,
Boston, like, right? Well,
yeah.
Toronto was really bad, but Boston, it was different. It seemed like everyone was out to get you a little bit more than I think what they are now.
Mhm. Okay. A few more here. Alibi says, any concern about the goals allowed to start the season? Sure, absolutely. Definitely some concern. Definitely the type of goals as well being allowed. They've seemed to kind of get up and down or on and off depending on the game. I like what you said last time, Razor, about getting kind of moving on from Florida for a while, and that's just a tough matchup. Unfortunately, that's now the benchmark for the Boston Bruins, though, or the Florida Panthers. So it's nice to get away from it, but the type of goals that Florida was scoring were concerning or are concerning. Um, the Bruins still, and we did talk about this last show, the Bruins are still figuring out what they want to do defensively, it looks like at times. They were better, though, much better against Colorado.
Yeah, I would say that they look a little bit, a little unsure in their own zone.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm not concerned about where they're at. I think it's just a progression of the season. This is kind of bled into the preseason is bled into the regular season. Montgomery, they just didn't practice a lot. I think they'll get better, but the one thing that is concerning, and it's relative to the rest of the division, is the way Toronto's playing defense and the way that Tampa Bay is playing defense
Mm-hmm.
right out of the gates changes where, like, it drops the Bruins back defensively in their own division. So I think just what they're doing now is fixable and gettable, but have they dropped in team defense in the Atlantic Division after watching what Tampa Bay's dialed it way back? Watching again tonight, and Vasilevsky's back. And then, of course, Toronto with Berube, they look different as well. They've got a different system. So that's kind of where I'm a little more concerned, because these two teams might have gotten better defensively.
Interesting. Yep. Good point. Let's take one more here. This one from Anson M. Do you think Jim Montgomery, would put Pasta and Marchand back together? I think they are so good together, Anson says. I think situationally they will. I could start seeing, Pastrnak at times, if there's an opportunity if the shift cadence is, or Montgomery makes it happen, he's not afraid to double shift Pastrnak and put him out there with Coyle and Marchand. There's no doubt that right side has to be addressed if it's going to be Trent Frederick. And there are many people that have wanted it to be Frederick somewhat regularly. Give him a ride up there for 5 games, maybe even more. Give him a ride, though. See what he can do. But if you really need a goal, who's to say you don't put those 3 together? You hope that Elias Lindholm and Zacha and Pastrnak have more than enough oomph together to make it happen regularly. But yeah, why not? Marchand and Pastrnak work well together too.
They do, and that'll be. It'll come. Something will happen with that within those lines. Does Zacha move back to second line center at some point to shore up second line? Is that in play at all? I don't think it is for a while, but I could see it. I could see something.
What about Matty
changing.
Poitras up to the second line, get him some more offense, and then Coyle to the third line, and get him with a more traditional third line? Who the hell? You got to maximize what everybody's best value or qualities are. And if Matty Poitras is going to stay up, you're gonna have to surround him with some more talent. Your offensive talent, bud. They're just going to have to.
Yeah, no, it doesn't benefit him to be working in his own zone. That's just not him at this point. So right. I agree. That the issue is he's not playing with Pasta. So it's like, okay, so what's then you start, we're looking at talent. Well, okay, okay, it's Marchand. That's the next step. And
if you go Marchand, Poitras, Frederick, you got to have some meat with you got to have some beef with Poitras.
That's right. With him and Brad, you do, and you need a little bit of you need some center ability. Frederick, right?
So there you go. You got a lefty righty. Try that maybe, and then if you go Coyle, on the third line, and then you're talking a Geeky, Brazo, a Jones, could be a Tyler Johnson. Who knows, that type of thing. But maybe that's something to consider.
We're gonna be talking lines a lot this year, huh?
Feels like it.
Yeah, there's just so many different options, combos, etc.
The good news is they got a lot of versatile players.
Yeah,
a lot. We've already discussed that. When injuries hit,
they're better off.
Right. The bad news is I don't know if they have enough players to say this guy's here, this guy's here, this guy's here, and maybe they do at game 40, but it doesn't feel like that at game 4 or 5, whatever we're at. No. All right. Thank you, folks, for the questions. There's some other great comments too, but we're gonna take those. Let me finish up with this, Razor. We wrap this up. Reminder, the hats that we are wearing. These are the hats. The one that I'm wearing, again, if you're watching us, whether it's live or on our YouTube channel, you can see the logos are just a little bit different, but these are the ones that are going to be sold. They're going to be sold through distribution through Fazenda Coffee. They're going to have them on their website. We'll set that up. It's probably going to take another, I'm going to say week. I hope it's a few days before that, but I'm hoping a week per the conversation I had today with our hat manufacturer. The other thing is to remind you that I don't have the amount of times, but every so often, and it happened today, you're going to see some other Nesson podcast probably be distributed through our feed, just like our show will be distributed through some others. Nesson's vodcast network is growing, and they're talking hockey a lot. So they're going to be putting some other shows out there to get exposure. And we will let you know when that is going to happen, just so you understand. And we'll also be in the description. So we will do our best to always let you know. So you know that it says Morning Brew, but it's also just part of the Nesson shows, the Nesson Podcast Network. And again, as I like to say, the more hockey talk, the more good hockey talk, especially, the better. And so just keep an eye on that. And that will be happening here, there, everywhere. And again, you might see our show on other Nesson podcast feeds as well. That's what they are doing right now with some of these. So that's going to wrap up this one. Razor, you sound like you got a little cold. You all right? Are you just a little...
grinding a little bit tonight?
You're grinding?
Ready for bed. My parents just got here. I just heard them come in the house. So
when are we going to get them on? When are we going? No,
they're old school parents.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Now we're doing live stream stuff. Reg, can we get Reg? Can we get Reg?
I had a couple of my buddies send texts, but not Reg, surprisingly. I must owe him a call or something. I don't know. Usually he's onto this stuff, so I'll find out where Reg is. But yeah, he'll show up at some point.
We get Reg on. We have a real good old-fashioned Canadian, night, beverages out, talking hockey, Bruins, get some Razor stories that I desperately need.
Oh, yeah. They're there.
Razor generally, folks, I'm being honest, it's no bullshit. He's one of the nicest people I've ever met. He's so nice. He's the opposite of me. So I know that there's got to be some dirt on him that Reg will give us, but he is the nicest person. So anyway, his personality that you hear him analyzing is true. All right, Ryan, RC, the man, the myth, the legend, thanks again for helping put this all together, buddy. We appreciate it. Hats available soon. The next Morning Brew is coming up not after Saturday's game. Repeating, not after Saturday's game in Utah. Have you ever been to Utah, Razor?
No, never.
You haven't?
Nothing.
I've been a couple of times. Almost got into the fight one time in the stands when when I'd fallen into broadcasting. I was with Chicago Wolves with Judd Surratt, by the way. A fan came walking up because the old building they played in
walked right.
It was right past booth. Right, and they said, "You assholes," or something, like some guy did. And I looked at Judd. I'm like, "What the?" And I said, "Can I go?" And I looked, and he shrugged his shoulders. I took my headset off. I turned out. I ran out, and then there was a security guard up at the top. I'm like, "Where the hell did that guy go?" And he yelled at us. Right,
that's beautiful.
But Utah's nice, and it's changed, I'm told, an awful lot. So the Utah Hockey Club will host your Bruins on Saturday. We will not do the show after that game, but Razor and I will be back after Tuesday's show against the Nashville Predators. So a couple of days off for Morning Brew with Jaffe and Razor. Folks, thanks for joining us. We greatly appreciate it. Again, Ryan, thank you very much for coordinating all of this. Razor, great to see you. Go get some rest. Fans, thanks again. You know what? You got a couple of days off until Saturday's game, so make sure you enjoy that extra cup of coffee.